It'll be the first time you'll face Germany since the Euros final on Friday. How does that England team compare to the one now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of changes, retirements especially. God, some big characters have retired since then, some key players as well, but then at the same time, a lot of new, fresh, young faces eager to, play at Wembley and beat Germany. It's kind of written in the history of England and Germany and big occasions. So, yeah, there's a lot of girls now who get to make that memory of having maybe watched the final or being an England fan and now being part of the team. So it's in a very different place, but I think it's just as exciting.
It's the start of a new cycle ahead of the Euros next summer. Excited?
Yeah, definitely. Especially being the champions, I think it's a little bit different with any tournament or any competition. When you're the holders of it, it's like that's yours to lose a little bit, although the competition's completely reset. Like I said, we've got different players and things like that, but yeah, it has a different feeling, which as an England player, we've never had before.
Before winning the Euros, you told me that you trade in all your personal accolades to win one with England. So how would you describe that feeling of finally achieving that goal?
Yeah, I mean, it was everything I could have dreamed of, and I think then having that so close moment in the World Cup as well, it was like those two moments are two of my favourite things. If we'd obviously went on and won the World Cup, it would have been unbelievable. But yeah, I think about all the other trophies and things like that, and none of them even come anywhere near to winning the Euros, and especially in the fashion that we did it at home and things like that. It was, yeah, it easily will be and will always be the best moment of my career.
After the World Cup, Serena sat you down and asked you about retirement. What did you say?
I told her to stop the conversation. Yeah, it was actually here at St George's Park. It was just in the hotel. And I think it was more just to gauge if there was something that I was still motivated to play for England, to keep playing in general, having achieved a lot in the game anyway. I think it's a question I constantly get asked, how do you stay motivated? I'm like, I love playing football. Why would I not? It's not even about being motivated. I absolutely love it. You do the job you love until you can't do it anymore. And the reason for not doing it would more likely be physical than being motivated to do something. Yeah, so I found that interesting. But yeah, it was more just a general conversation to know where my head was at. Because you have to plan these things in advance, knowing what players are available and things like that. Conversation, she probably has a lot of players knowing what their plans are. And yeah, I said I want to keep playing. I want to try and make the next World Cup. If I do, I do, and if I don't, I don't. But it's in my head that I want to keep going, and that's definitely a target of mine.
Congratulations on being nominated for the Ballon d'Or, but you can't go to this ceremony in Paris next Monday, can you?
Well, I mean, I technically could if I wanted to jeopardise my chances of playing for England, which obviously I wouldn't do, because the whole reason of being nominated for these awards is what you do on the pitch. I think it's hugely disappointing that it's not even the first time as well that it's happened in the women's game. It's kind of like a second thought of, oh yeah, the women are there. No one seems to check what we're up to. And yeah, there's teams and players in qualifications. There's players who might be their first nomination, might be their only ever nomination. They don't get to go and be celebrated as they should be for having incredible seasons. Obviously, I've been to the awards before, but it doesn't take away from the fact that being celebrated is something that we should do, and especially in the women's game when we're still trying to grow the game, to kind of be these barriers put up in front of us again is very frustrating. And not only frustrating that it's happened, but it's obviously it happened last year, and it's like, is anybody listening? And I think that's again a different kind of frustration in thinking, we're doing our best that we can as players and as support systems. Is everybody else listening?
What would you like to see happen, change?
Well, I think it just needs to be some consideration. It's as simple as, I understand schedules are crazy. There's not always going to be the best time and the best date, and players are always going to have games or something potentially in kind of mixing up with these events and stuff. But an international window is pretty glaringly obvious. You can put it in the season, and maybe teams have games on a Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday, might dictate them, but it's not an international window. I think that's the thing that's quite alarming, that it's literally a window where everybody goes, all over the place, and yeah, it just seems quite inconsiderate in a way.
As a member of the FIFA Pro's Global Player Council, when it comes to fixture congestion, do you think the players' voices are being heard?
I don't think so. I think even just with like the common sense that a player has from being in those situations, sometimes it's not really listened to. You know, you look at for Chelsea, for example, our game with Man United being rearranged, and it's still yet to come to a conclusion. And you know, we probably could have told you that weeks ago that that was going to happen. It was obvious that we were playing Sunday, and someone was going to play Sunday and then a potential Tuesday, which is impossible. Like the fact that it wasn't flagged early is a bit crazy, and then having to fit that in somewhere else when it's what you've been planning the whole year for becomes difficult. And yeah, I mean, we just want the game to be in the best place possible. We want the fans to be there. You know, things like that doesn't help them as either. It doesn't help them come and support us, and it doesn't help us prepare for seasons and be in the best condition that we can be, and avoiding injuries and performing at the highest level.
You've said not qualifying for the Paris Olympics was a blessing in disguise. Why?
Yeah, I mean, I think off the back of Barcelona season, I think I seen a graphic somewhere. It was like the 6 most played players in the world last year were practically, I think apart from one, was all Barcelona internationals, and I was obviously one of them. And yeah, thinking of then going to Olympics was quite intense, but also the setup of the Olympics is insane. Like a Euros and a World Cup, you have time to recover. At Olympics, you don't have time to recover. You see the players who went there, and you don't see their best performances. I don't think we saw all the teams performing at a high level, and I don't think that helps the game. We want the game's there for entertainment, and if the players aren't able to give their best, then the entertainment is the thing that suffers. And then as a player, you suffer because frustration, injuries, etc., etc. Yeah, the Olympics is a competition that you want to win, you want to play in, but the state of how it's set up isn't in the best interest of player welfare and the players' conditions.
From Barcelona to Chelsea, how did that come about? Wasn't it a conversation that you had at the Champions League final?
Yeah, it was. I knew a couple of months beforehand that I was leaving Barca. Hadn't really planned my next move. It tends to be what I do a lot. I just think, I know this is not where I want to be, but I don't quite know what the next thing is. I think, you know, there's so many good and different teams that you could go to and experience different things, work on different things. And I hadn't quite thought, what I really want? And then I know Sonia Bonpasto and Cami Abali from my time at Lyon. Obviously played Lyon in the final for Barca. Like seeing a couple of my friends and stuff. Went to congratulate them on, hadn't been announced, but obviously we all hear the whispers and things. And went to congratulate them on moving to England and having to be in the English league and all the differences, living in London and things like that. And then they were like, why don't you come? And I was like, I said, you don't need me, you've got plenty of players there. And she was like, no, we want you. If the door's open, then we want to speak to you. And I said, the door's always open to speak to anyone. We walked around the pitch a little bit, like half pitch, and that was what we was chatting about. I remember texting Cami Abali and I was like, I want to be a Chelsea player. And she was like, let's make this happen.
So what's your relationship like now with Sonia Bonpasto?
I mean, I think a lot of the players have got a really good relationship with Sonia. She's been quite personable with the team so far. Yeah, I mean, I like her because I know as a player she had very high standards of herself and everybody else. I think that's something that I've had a lot in my career. Someone who demands more from you, no matter who you are, how you're playing. I can feel that she wants to keep pushing and pushing, which I think, yeah, I mean, I personally think that always gets like you to the best place if you're constantly being challenged in the right way and things. So our relationship so far has been really good, and obviously the start to the season's kind of mirrored the fact that she's come in and settled in quite well.
You said you need to come back to England one more time. Why?
Champions League. I mean, that's something that, again, I speak to Sonia about. It's like, what do we need to do to be a team that's able to win the Champions League? You know, we talk about results in the Champions League group stages that we've had, or in the league, and it's like, okay, we're winning games, but is that performance going to get us to that point? Obviously, it takes time for these things to happen. But yeah, winning I guess the Euros was a bit of an eye-opener as well. It was like doing something with England always meant so much, and I think doing something with an English team would probably feel the same. I've won the Champions League many times, and I've saw that relationship with the players from that country and what it does to them and their families and the country in general. Like, I think it's a different kind of feeling to being the foreigner in that team. So I think that's something that I'd really like to experience.
Why Chelsea then?
The best team in England. I think the record speaks for itself. Obviously, the manager's changed, so things change. But yeah, like a quality squad, a team that's already in a place where they've been to a final, they've beaten the best teams, whether that's Lyon or Barcelona. They've done that in recent years. You know, it's that little step that they've never been able to take, but I think they've always been poised in the best position in England to get to that level.
You said that you want to play in fewer matches, but more meaningful ones. What do you mean by that?
I think it was just more in Spain. It's something the Spanish girls speak about. The amount of games that I played there is insane. It's 8 more games than in England. So I'm not saying I don't want to play every Chelsea game. I want to play every Chelsea game. I want to play every England game. But in Barcelona, it was 8 more games, which was 4 more plane rides, 1 away games in Tenerife. Like, it was a lot, and it takes a lot out of you and a lot of your body. Again, it's something that I think you saw in the Olympics with the Spanish girls. It's so hard. They start the season earlier, they finish later. That's what I had to deal with the past 2 seasons, and there's only so much that you can do without, something's got to give. So yeah, I felt like, and I wanted to preserve playing for England as long as possible. It seemed right to come back to England and work with an English team.
What's the dream with Chelsea?
To win everything. Something that we speak about is to win. Chelsea's a team that always talk about winning trophies. The goal is to win the Champions League and also every other trophy. We want to just keep winning games. We've got off to a great start. I know it's not always that simple and plain sailing, but you've got to believe it, and you've got to have that confidence that your team's good enough, that you're good enough. And I think, yeah, in the direction that we're going, we're in a very good place to achieve those goals.
The next dream with England?
Euros, World Cup, just win everything again. I just don't want to lose anything. Yeah, I think winning the Euros would be like crazy. We said creating history. I think Serena reminded us today that Germany have won it 7 times. We've actually only won it once, so we have to win it 8 times. I don't think I'll be part of all of those 8 times. Maybe in a different way I might be. But yeah, we need to just keep adding to that. I think going back to back in any competition is incredible, but to do it over an international is pretty unheard of. So I think that would be a nice feeling. That is the goal, the immediate goal with England, is winning the Euros, is preparing this team to be in a place that we can win the Euros. We've got the players, we've got the talent, but we need to make sure we show up next summer in Switzerland.